Hey everyone, my name's Peter. Welcome to my new FPL video. In this one, I'm going to create a wildcard draft for Game Week 12, which is looking like a very popular week to hit the button. I'll talk about which players I think should be absolutely nailed on a wildcard this week, and also discuss alternatives to the players I've gone for that are also great options. Please hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Now let's get into it. Okay, so I've put my favourite 11 players straight up on the screen for you to have a look at. People may look at the money I'm investing in the Arsenal defence and say, perfectly reasonably, they've forgotten how to keep clean sheets. But despite none in the last 7 games, looking at the stats, aside from Liverpool, Arsenal really do have one of the meanest defences in the league. We saw clean sheet after clean sheet last season when Arsenal got on a roll, and defensive numbers are starting to approach the levels they were last year again. It's a fantastic run of games until Game Week 23 on paper, especially from a defensive point of view, and I'm happy to go all in on it. Raya, Gabriel and Saliba are the best 3 defensive options Arsenal have to offer, with Gabriel probably top of that list due to his goal threat. They're all nailed to play 90 minutes pretty much every week. People have been selling these guys recently due to the lack of returns, but they're doing it just before the fixture run has become really good. And they're good for a really long time too. Getting them in this week will get you ahead of the game in my opinion, after people come flooding back in the next few weeks. Don't worry about the lack of clean sheets recently, trust in one of the best defences in the league. If you prefer the idea of the double defence as opposed to the triple up, perhaps to make room for Saka in your team, then that's absolutely fine, so I'll show you a draft that includes him later on. The best backup keeper currently feels like Fabianski at West Ham. You don't really need too much cover for Raya, but Fabianski is currently the cheapest starting goalkeeper at 4 million, so he really is the most obvious pick. Yeah, the West Ham defence has been pretty poor this season, but you're not expecting to use him, and you don't want to waste money in this position for someone who never gets in your team. Next up in defence, I've gone for Anthony Robinson of Fulham at 4.7 million as one of my key cheaper defenders. Fulham have been playing really well this year, and 1.16 expected goals conceded per 90 minutes is one of the best in the league. Robinson is their most attacking defender and already has 3 assists this season, which combined with Fulham's strong defence makes him a really good option. Fulham have got a few tricky fixtures in the next 5 weeks, but on a wildcard, you're looking at the long-term picture, and the fixture run from Game Week 17 to 27 is outstanding. You'll want to bench him for Game Weeks 15 and 16 against Arsenal and Liverpool, but that's okay because you've got 2 Arsenal defenders playing every week, and our next defender, Lewis Hall of Newcastle, has the perfect fixtures to cover him in Game Weeks 13, 15, 16 and 18, as you'll see in just a second. So here we go, Lewis Hall, one of my favourite picks in this wildcard draft. At 4.3 million, he's incredibly cheap in a Newcastle defence where he's now nailed down the left-back position over Lloyd Kelly. Over the last 6 game weeks, he's played all but the last couple of minutes away at Chelsea, and he's got some attacking threat too. Currently 0.16 expected assists per 90 minutes, which will do nicely. Other than the Liverpool game in Game Week 14, when we can bench him and play Anthony Robinson anyway, Newcastle have just finished their tough run of fixtures. As we can see, they played Manchester City, Brighton, Chelsea, Arsenal and Forest all in their last 6 weeks. Looking forward, there are some great fixtures on the horizon. In the weeks where we'd like to bench Robinson, Newcastle face Palace away, Brentford away, Leicester at home and Villa at home, which is pretty nice all in all. I'm a big fan, and his great rotation with Anthony Robinson means I wouldn't want to go without him on wildcard. My 5th defender is currently Luca Dean, but there are plenty of good choices who could also fill that spot. Nori of Wolves has proved really popular recently, looking very attacking for Wolves, and has scored the most goals of any defender so far this season. Estupinan of Brighton had some stellar moments in the previous 2 seasons and has just got himself back starting in Brighton's first team regularly. Brighton have a fantastic run of fixtures over the next 7 weeks, even though their defence isn't the most solid in the league. If Estupinan can start registering attacking returns like he has done in the past, he could be a bargain. Joachim Anderson is the cheapest alternative at 4.3 million if you want to double up on that Fulham defence, or haven't quite got the budget to reach Digne or Robinson. Although I could be swayed over the course of the next 2 weeks, my current pick is Dean. Villa have struggled against the top teams this year, losing to Arsenal, Liverpool and also Spurs, but they've also looked great and remain unbeaten against everybody else. Although he doesn't always complete the full 90 minutes, he has started every game, and only once he didn't make it past the crucial 60-minute mark. Dean is also on the number of set pieces for Villa, and his 0.25 expected goal involvements per 90 minutes is exceptional for a defender. Villa may have only managed the one clean sheet so far, but 1.22 expected goals against per 90 is the 7th best in the league and nothing to be sniffed at. Moving into midfield, I absolutely do not want to be without Cole Palmer or Mo Salah. I can't see anyone on a wildcard this week not looking to have those two in their team. Salah has been phenomenal all season. He's the top scoring player in the game, and at this rate, he's on track for his highest ever points finished. He's looking really sharp too. I never for a moment thought he was going to miss when he broke through the Villa defence for his one-on-one with Martinez at the end of the game last week. 8 goals and 6 assists in 11 games are outstanding numbers. I'm sure you want him in, and Palmer isn't far behind. 7 goals and 5 assists in 11 matches, also absolutely brilliant. With Chelsea, the fixtures are absolutely phenomenal too. Crazy good for the next 7 weeks. We know his quality. I could easily imagine him being the top scoring player in the game over this time. Only a brave man would pass up Palmer on that fixture run. Now is where it gets interesting though. There's some great options in midfield, and as a big fan of the Newcastle fixture run, which I described earlier, my favourite pick is Anthony Gordon. He hasn't fully got going yet this season, with only 2 goals and 1 assist, but that's what we said about Bruno Fernandes last week. 0.6 expected goal involvements per 90 is one of the best in the league for any midfielder, and we know Gordon can be class when he's on his game. 11 goals and 16 assists last season show us exactly what he's capable of. I reckon his season is about to take off, just like last year. West Ham, Palace, Brentford, Leicester and Ipswich in the next 6 matches, some of the worst defences in the league there, and Newcastle just starting to hit a bit of form after their wins against Arsenal and Forest. The only thing to keep an eye on with Gordon is that he went off 10 minutes before the end of the game with a slight knock against Forest. Now he's in the England squad for the international break, so unless he's released, we can be sure he's absolutely fine. If he did return to Newcastle, we have to keep a close eye on the press conferences of Eddie Howe to make sure he's okay. I suspect he will be, but it would be good to have it confirmed. Next up, I want to increase my coverage of that Chelsea attack. Pedro Neto has established himself as one of the key wingers in that Chelsea team recently, completing 90 minutes in all of their last 3 games. He got a goal and an assist during that time and has looked incredibly creative. 0.28 expected goal involvements per 90 minutes isn't outstanding amongst midfielders, but we've seen how good he is in the past when he's really on his game, and that appears to be just starting to happen right now. Combined with Chelsea's wonderful fixture run, this feels like an opportunity not to be missed. Just to remind ourselves how good those fixtures really are, all the way through until Game Week 22, it's pretty glorious. Spurs away looks the most challenging, and last season, Chelsea ripped Spurs apart at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. They probably won't do that again, but I could easily see them getting a good result. There could be a lot of goals coming for Chelsea in the near future, and I think Neto could be involved in his fair share. My final midfielder in this draft is Kaoru Mitoma. A bit like Anthony Gordon, he hasn't reached his peak yet this season, but I reckon that's all about to change. Despite Brighton's abundance of attacking options, Mitoma has always been a key player for them. You can see he started 10 out of 11 matches this season, and if he comes off, it's nearly always right at the end of the game. 1 goal and 3 assists so far is a so start, but his record over the last 2 seasons is exactly 2 goal involvements every 3 matches, and with 0.25 expected goals and 0.2 expected assists per 90 this season so far, there's a strong indication that attacking returns are about to come his way again. And the next 7 fixtures for Brighton are just brilliant. Southampton at home and Leicester away really stand out, but Palace, West Ham and Brentford have all been struggling this season in defence like I've said before. Even after the slightly trickier tasks of Villa and Arsenal in weeks 19 and 20, there's another lovely run until Game Week 28. Investing in that Brighton attack feels like a must. My front line feels like a little bit of a repeat of the last 3 players, the key forwards for Newcastle, Chelsea and Brighton coming in. And it's for all the same reasons. Isak has 3 goals and an assist in his last 3 matches and looks absolutely back to his best. With 21 goals last season, we know that once he gets going, he really gets going. 0.5 expected goals per 90 is good enough, and we've seen from past seasons, Isak scores at least as many as expected over the course of 38 games. Great fixtures and full of confidence, it's the perfect time to get Isak in. Nicholas Jackson is already having a great season with 6 goals and 3 assists in his first 11 matches. Although he looked a bit raw last year, he actually got 14 goals and 6 assists in 31 starts, so it really wouldn't be surprising to see him do even better this season. He's well on the way already. Chelsea's fixtures are even better than Newcastle's, and with Jackson starting every game, averaging just under 80 minutes per match, and with 0.62 expected goals per 90 already, even during a tougher fixture run, he could absolutely smash it over the next 11 weeks. It's hard to turn down that kind of option in FPL. The last spot goes to João Pedro. He might just be the most underpriced player in the game this season. Currently, 5.4 million, he's just come back from injury, and we saw just how devastating he can be with a goal and an assist to win Brighton the game at home to Manchester City in Game Week 10. He's probably got penalties to boot, and he'll be massively popular on WILDCARD this week. With 0.6 expected goal involvements per 90 minutes, and at that bargain price, he's incredibly hard to resist. There are a few alternative options who I think could also do nicely in this week's wildcard team. Bournemouth have had a strong start to the season, especially at home, and their attacking duo of Evanilson and Semenyo have been doing particularly well. Evanilson, Bournemouth's most expensive ever signing, has 3 goals in his last 3 games, and is starting to tick along nicely now. 0.51 expected goals per 90 minutes is good. Although he doesn't complete every game, he has started 10 out of 11. Bournemouth's next 9 fixtures look good too. It's a run featuring a fair few teams who are struggling defensively. There's Wolves, Ipswich and West Ham in the next 5 games alone. I don't feel like he's quite as good an option as João Pedro, costing $500,000 more. But if you were looking to downgrade Isak or Jackson and invest the $2 million saving into midfield, it would be one way of helping to forget Saka, for example. In midfield, another Bournemouth player, Semenyo, could also be a great pick. He's been Bournemouth's talisman this season. He has 4 goals already, really is a 90-minute man almost every game, and 0.5 expected goal involvements per 90 suggests there's no reason he shouldn't continue this kind of form. With Bournemouth's good fixture run, as we've just seen, he could do even better. At only 5.7 million, I really do like him as an option. He could easily replace Neto or Mitoma if you prefer him, whilst also giving you slightly more budget for the rest of your team. Lastly, here's a quick look at how you might make a Saka draft with double Arsenal defence instead of triple. One simple way would be to drop Gabriel down to Anderson of Fulham, Mitoma down to Semenyo, and then upgrade Gordon to Saka. Alternatively, we could downgrade Saliba to Estupiñán, Jackson to Evanilson, and once again upgrade Gordon to Saka. Whichever option works best for you. I hope you found this video helpful, and as always, please hit that like button and subscribe if you enjoyed it. Thanks again for watching, see you for the next one.